Hi everybody, welcome to Fake Martial Arts History. This is episode 1, The Fake History of Kun Tao. My name is Dr. Bryan Stoops. Let's get a few things straight really quickly here. My name really is Dr. Bryan Stoops. I really am a professional martial artist and educator based in New York City. I really am certified as an instructor by people like Guro Dan Inosanto, Punong Guro Marc Denny, Tuhon Leo Gaje, Sifu Francis Fong, Ajarn Chai Siristue, and several others. I really do have over 15 years experience in K-12. I really do have a master's and a doctorate in education. I really am making this to make people laugh, and in no way to be disrespectful to anyone, alive or dead. I'm not making this to be disrespectful to any culture, and I'm not making this to be disrespectful to any system of martial arts. All of those things are true. Again, what's real? I am making this to make people laugh. Nothing else in this video is real or true, except for this is a photo of me taken at a Filipino martial arts seminar that I was teaching some time ago, and the information contained on the last slide. Other than that, this information, the photo, the information on the last slide, let's proceed with the fake history of Kun Tao. So, many people are unaware, but Silat as a martial arts culture is super chill. Now, we are in particular talking about the post-war era here, the 1950s. So, a lot of people don't know this. What was going on in the United States, this sort of post-war utopia, the nuclear family, the building of the family unit, and sort of the almost mythological or this really happy, almost perfect time period that we were experiencing, this post-war period in the 1950s, that feeling was reverberating all over the world. The 1950s were a time of peace and prosperity, and it was after World War II, and that was particularly being experienced in the Southeast Asian arts, the martial arts from Southeast Asia. But let's talk specifically about Silat. Now, Silat as a whole, during this sort of utopian period in the 1950s, they, as a community, the Silat community, realized there are all these different villages, there are all these different areas in Southeast Asia. They really banded together, and they were very open-minded about, I want to train with as many people as possible. Every system has something to offer. If they recognized a move or a technique from another system looked similar to something that they were doing, well, they just realized that movement was universal, and they were very open-minded and accepting about that. So, during this sort of post-war utopian period in the 1950s, everything was going fine in the Filipino martial arts community as well, except for one area, and that's the identity crisis that I'm writing about here. But again, just like the Silat community and sort of worldwide, this post-war utopian kind of a feel, everything in the Filipino martial arts and the Filipino martial arts community as a whole during this utopian 1950s period, very, very, very much a feeling of, we recognize that there are multiple styles, but we recognize that everybody has something to offer. If one system was a single stick system and another was a double stick system, they totally recognized the value in exploring multiple weapons configurations. There was no tribalism whatsoever. Everybody's open-minded, learning from each other. There were no challenge matches. Again, because it's this sort of post-war utopian period, the Filipino martial arts community in the 1950s worldwide had a very similar thing going on as the Silat community did worldwide. Just open-minded, accepting, learning from everybody, knowing the value of what everybody has to offer, no tribalism, no petty grudges, no challenges. Everything was going perfectly except for one area. So the FMA, or the Filipino Martial Arts Identity Crisis that I'm sort of referencing here, is when the Filipino martial arts community got down to trying to define its empty-handed offerings. Single stick, double stick, sword, long and short, spotty daga, stick and dagger, and so on. Long weapons, flexible weapons, and on and on and on and on. Everything was fine. Everything was perfect. Everything was utopian. Everybody learning from everybody else. It just very much, I don't have a better way of expressing it, sort of a kumbaya kind of vibe there, okay? So the only area where the Filipino martial arts community was experiencing an identity crisis was their empty-handed martial arts offerings. In the 50s, you would hear terms like Panantukan, Dumog, Pananjakman, and this kind of continues into the present day. Nobody really knew what those terms meant. Nobody could really define those terms, and the Filipino martial arts community, it's kind of strange in the 50s because there was such a utopia as far as all the other areas of the Filipino martial arts. This just sort of being at a loss with dealing or even talking about or teaching their empty-handed offerings really created an identity crisis within the greater Filipino martial arts community throughout the world in the 1950s. And what this really amounted to, this was the only source of tension between the Silat, the greater Silat community all over the world, and the Filipino martial arts community all over the world. Everything else, as I mentioned, a post-war utopia. And people were already getting very comfortable learning from one another, the Silat community learning from the Filipino martial arts community, Filipino martial arts community learning from the Silat community. Everybody, again, this is just a utopian time period of sharing, exploration, and open-mindedness. However, because the Filipino martial arts community was wrestling with this identity crisis, how do we talk about and how do we think about and how do we relate to our empty-handed areas? This was the only source of conflict between the greater Silat and Filipino martial arts communities. But again, because everything was such a post-war utopian period of open-mindedness and sharing, this time period, when we talk to martial arts historians, really referred to as the art of arguing without arguing. Because the Filipino martial arts people were recognizing, when they looked at quote-unquote Silat, and I'm doing air quotes, I know you can't see me right now when I say quote-unquote Silat, well, they recognized that a lot of those movements were what they were doing in their empty-handed offerings in the Filipino martial arts, which once again, they were wrestling with. They didn't really have the terminology, they didn't really know how to talk about it, they just were dealing with this identity crisis. So that was the only source of tension during this 1950s Southeast Asian martial arts utopian time period. But again, because everybody was so harmonious, martial arts historians like to call this the art of arguing without arguing. Because the Filipino martial arts community recognized, okay, this whole not being able to talk about our empty-handed offerings thing, that's on us. That's our stuff. And we don't want to use that as a source of tension with the greater Silat community because they were getting along so well. They were learning from them all the time. They were totally fine seeing the same movements expressed in quote-unquote Silat. They were recognizing, hey, there's a lot of crossover here between what we do. So the only person that recognized, hey, when I look around the world in this post-war 1950 utopian time period, one of the only conflicts, and it's really an unspoken conflict that's going on in the entire world, is this weird identity crisis with the greater Filipino martial arts community wrestling with how to refer to or how to think about or what to call their empty-handed offerings. And the person who recognized that was Gandhi. And Gandhi was so committed to trying to eliminate conflict around the entire world, and even in the art of arguing without arguing. So an unspoken conflict, Gandhi was committed to helping people solve this problem. So Gandhi recognized the need, and Kun Tao was born. So in the 1950s, post-war, the Filipinos are not, they're not thinking about the Japanese. It's everybody's recovering, and they had, it was a worldwide utopian period. So Gandhi recognized something very important. One of the major problems that the Filipinos were dealing with during that time period was an excess amount of raccoons that like to kind of rest and nap on their front porch. As a community, no matter what region, the north, the south, it didn't matter what part of the Philippines or what island the people identified with. This is across the entire country. Where the Filipinos really came together in the 1950s was the national sense of pride that they felt keeping their porches clean of raccoons, because again, it was a major problem. So they banded together as a local community, as an island, as a country, and again, the national attention was on keeping one's front porch clean of raccoons. So recognizing that, Gandhi came up with the term Kun Tao, which actually means the art of keeping one's front porch clean of raccoons. And within the development of that term, Gandhi acknowledged the national pride that the Filipinos were feeling, keeping their porches so clean of raccoons, and within developing that term, thus the empty-handed offerings of the Filipino martial arts had a name. So Gandhi had in fact Gandhi'd all over the situation. What did Gandhi do? Well, he pulled a Gandhi and came up with this incredible term, Kun Tao, which once again really folded in the sense of national pride that the Filipinos were feeling during that 1950s post-war utopian period. So within that, even though it was the art of arguing without arguing, this was an unspoken conflict and sort of a problem that was existing under the surface. Even though that was true, Gandhi recognized the need. He thought long and hard, developed the term Kun Tao, which was the perfect Kun Tao, and essentially pulled a Gandhi and really solved the problem. The term Kun Tao was created, and people all over the world in all parts of the Philippines know the term Kun Tao. It's not like it's just a regional term for the same movements or anything. I mean, that is the term that is widely accepted in the entirety of the Philippines, no matter what island, because of Gandhi's ingenuity. All right, so today, that contribution really resonates into the present day. And so the Filipino martial arts, the Silat community, Kun Tao practitioners, because some people have gone on to just specialize in Kun Tao. When we think about those arts and their commonalities, Gandhi recognized something special. He made a contribution. He made a contribution that spoke to the national pride of the Filipino people. And today, the greater Filipino martial arts, Silat, and Kun Tao communities worldwide are renowned for a complete lack of tribalism, lack of conflict, lack of hanging on to petty differences, lack of telling the same stories 50 years later like they're still relevant. They're very forward-focused, present-day kind of martial artists. And that kind of identity for the greater Southeast Asian martial arts, as these arts relate to one another, really starts and stops with Gandhi. So we Filipino martial arts and Silat practitioners and Kun Tao practitioners like myself, we owe Gandhi a great debt of gratitude. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fake Martial Arts History. This is episode 1. Let's get back to some things that are true and real. Again, my name really is Dr. Bryan Stoops. If you, for real, would like a free digital copy of my book, which I actually did write and really does exist, the book is called Career Command Through Filipino Martial Arts. Go to www.careercommand.org right now. You can get your free digital download. Most importantly, right now, please be sure to like this video. And then immediately after that, please be sure to subscribe to my channel right now. Don't forget, so that you are alerted to future installments of Fake Martial Arts History. Once again, the first slide and the information there, and this slide and all the information here are real, for really reals, and all of the history of Kun Tao that I shared with you in the middle of this presentation was fake. And once again, why did I create this video? Hopefully to make you laugh a little bit, hopefully to put a little bit of levity into the world, certainly not to be disrespectful to anybody living or dead, certainly not to be disrespectful to any culture, and certainly not to be disrespectful to any system or systems of martial arts. Once again, my name is Dr. Bryan Stoops. I hope you enjoyed this episode 1 of Fake Martial Arts History. See you next time. Bye, everybody.